Another Man's Wife is one of those movies that starts like a normal marriage story. But the deeper it goes, the more you realize it is not just about love, betrayal, or temptation. It is about pressure. The kind of pressure that enters a home quietly and begins to test everything two people thought they had built together. At the center of this story are Shawn and Maya, a married couple trying to keep their lives together while facing very different battles. On the surface, they look like a regular, working-class couple. They are not perfect, but they are trying. They have responsibilities, expectations, and dreams, just like any couple trying to build a stable future. But the problem with life is that it does not always attack people in one direction. Sometimes, while one person is receiving good news, the other person is carrying the worst news of their life. Maya is a hard-working woman. At her workplace, she is not the kind of person who just shows up and waits for the day to end. She is focused, serious, and committed to her growth. People at work know her as someone who delivers. She has earned a name for herself as an achiever, and because of that, a major opportunity comes her way. A senior woman in her workplace is retiring, and before leaving, she decides to hand over her position to Maya. This is a big moment for Maya because it is not just a promotion, it is also a chance to prove that she can lead. The woman makes it clear that Maya has been known for achieving results, but now people want to see her lead. That statement carries weight because leadership is different from just being good at your job. Her first major assignment in this new role is a fundraising event. It is a big project, the kind of event that can either establish her or embarrass her. So naturally, Maya feels excited, nervous, and proud all at once. For Maya, this is the kind of news you want to take home and share with your spouse. She wants to tell Shawn that her hard work has finally paid off. She wants him to be proud of her. She wants to celebrate that moment with him because in marriage, your wins are supposed to feel like our wins. But when she gets home, she realizes that Shawn is not in the same emotional place as her. Shawn is going through a serious crisis of his own. His mother is terminally ill, and the medical bills are becoming a heavy burden. He is already under pressure trying to figure out how to keep up with the cost of her treatment. It is one thing to be worried about money for yourself, but it is another thing entirely when the life of someone you love depends on money you do not have. That kind of pressure can humble anyone. As if that was not enough, Shawn also loses his job. The company he works for is affected when a major client leaves and moves to a competitor. Because of that loss, the company has to make cuts, and Shawn is one of the people affected. So in a short period of time, he is dealing with two major blows. His mother is sick and needs money for treatment, and he has just lost the source of income that could help him handle it. This is where the emotional imbalance in The marriage begins. Maya is coming home with a promotion, but Shawn is coming home with devastation. They both have news, but Shawn's news lands first. And once he opens up about what has happened, Maya cannot bring herself to share her own good news with the same excitement. It is not because her news is not important. It is because Shawn's pain fills the room. In that moment, celebrating her promotion feels almost insensitive that silence may look small, but in marriage, small silences can become big problems. Maya keeps her good news quiet, and Shawn sinks deeper into his own worries. Maya is stepping into a bigger phase of her career, while Shawn is feeling like he is losing control of his life. One person is rising, the other feels like he is falling. That kind of emotional contrast can create tension, even when both people still love each other. For Shawn, losing his job is not just about money. It affects his sense of identity. He feels like he is failing as a son because he cannot fully take care of his sick mother. He feels like he is failing as a husband because Maya may now have to carry more of the financial weight. He feels cornered, and instead of opening up from a place of vulnerability, he begins to carry the shame inward. That is what makes his character painful to watch. He is not a bad man, but he is a broken man trying to pretend he is still standing. Meanwhile, Maya's new role begins to expose her to a different kind of world. The fundraising event is important, and one of the sponsors involved in the event starts showing interest in her. At first, it appears professional. He is connected to the event. He has money, he has influence, and he seems like someone who can make things happen. But as the story continues, it becomes clear that his interest in Maya is not just about the fundraiser. He wants something more personal. This is where the movie becomes uncomfortable because Maya is placed in a position where career, money, family, crisis, and moral choices begin to collide. The sponsor knows Maya is talented, but he also knows she is vulnerable. He understands that she is under pressure. At home, even if she does not fully say it, he sees an opening, and he uses his power to make himself look like the answer to her problems. Maya is not careless. She understands that something is not right, but she is also looking at her reality. Her husband is jobless, his mother is sick. The bills are heavy, their life is uncertain. And now here is a man offering help, influence, and money, but not without a condition. That is the trap. It is not presented like simple generosity. It is help with strings attached. When Maya eventually brings the situation home, the conversation between her and Shawn becomes one of the most important emotional points in the story. Shawn is not blind. He understands what is being suggested. He understands that this sponsor is not just giving help out of kindness. But Shawn is so overwhelmed by his own helplessness that he cannot take a strong stand. He does not clearly say yes, but he also does not strongly say no. And sometimes, in situations like this, silence becomes its own answer. That is what makes Shawn's role so complicated. He is hurting, but his silence pushes Maya into making the decision alone. He does not protect the marriage with certainty. He does not give Maya the emotional strength to walk away. Instead, his weakness creates room for Maya to convince herself that she is doing what needs to be done. She begins to see the sponsor's offer as sacrifice. She begins to see it as a painful decision that could help save the family from financial ruin. But the thing about sacrifice is that it does not always save what you think it will save. Sometimes the thing you sacrifice becomes the very foundation you needed to survive. Maya goes ahead. The movie does not show every detail of what happens between her and the sponsor, but it gives us enough to understand the damage. We may not see everything, but we feel the shift. Something changes in her, something changes in Shawn, something changes in the marriage. There are some decisions that do not need too many explanations because the consequence speaks loudly enough. After that point, the love between Shawn and Maya no longer feels the same. Even if they still care about each other, the trust has been broken. The home no longer feels safe. Their conversations are heavier. Their silence becomes louder. Shawn carries guilt and resentment. Maya carries pain, shame, and maybe even confusion. She may have believed she was helping the family, but now she has to live with what that decision has done to her marriage. This is why Another Man's Wife is not just a story about a woman choosing another man. It is a story about what happens when a couple allows desperation to make decisions for them. Shawn's inability to lead in that moment creates a vacuum. Maya steps into that vacuum and makes a decision that should never have been hers to carry alone. But because he was silent, she moved forward. 3 months later, the damage has already settled. Shawn tries to reconnect with Maya. He wants to talk. He wants to see if there is still a way back. And honestly, you can feel that he still loves her. He is not just angry. He is also regretful. He knows that he played a part in what happened. He knows that his silence, his brokenness, and his inability to take a firm stand contributed to the breakdown of their marriage. But Maya is no longer the same woman who once came home excited to tell him about her promotion. She has moved emotionally. The sponsor has become part of her life in a way Shawn can no longer ignore. That is where the title of the movie begins to make sense. Another Man's Wife is not only about legal marriage. It is about emotional ownership. It is about the painful realization that the woman Shawn once had is no longer fully his. What makes this story heartbreaking is that you can understand both sides, even if you do not agree with their choices. You can understand Shawn's pain. Losing your job while your mother is sick can destroy your confidence. You can understand why he felt small and powerless, but you can also understand Maya's fear. She was watching the man she loved fall apart while the family's problems kept growing. She felt she had to do something. But understanding people does not remove the consequences of their actions. Maya's mistake was thinking that the end result would justify the process. She thought if the money came in, if the bills were paid, if life became easier, maybe the pain would be worth it. But marriage is not built only on Survival, it is built on trust, safety, respect, and emotional agreement. Once those things are damaged, money cannot repair them easily. Shawn's mistake was thinking that not making a decision would protect him from responsibility. But in marriage, refusing to decide is also a decision. When he failed to clearly protect what they had, Maya interpreted his silence in her own way. And by the time he realized the cost of that silence, the marriage had already shifted beyond what he could control. The sponsor in the story represents another kind of danger. He is the person who appears when a family is vulnerable. He is not just offering help, he is offering help at a cost. He understands power, he understands desperation, and he uses both. That makes his role important because he shows how easily people can be manipulated when life has already weakened them. Another man's wife also says something about ambition. Maya's promotion should have been a beautiful thing. It should have been a moment of joy. But because it arrived at the same time as Shawn's crisis, it became complicated. This happens in real life. Sometimes one partner's success exposes the other partner's insecurity, not because the success is wrong, but because the timing makes the other person feel left behind. Shawn was not ready to celebrate Maya because he was grieving his own loss. Maya was not able to fully enjoy her promotion because her home was falling apart. So the very thing that should have brought joy became part of the emotional distance between them. By the end, you are left with a very uncomfortable question. If you were Maya, would you have done the same thing? If you were Shawn, would you have stopped her if your family was drowning? Financially, how far would you go to save them? And if the solution came with a price that touched your dignity and your marriage, would you still call it a solution? That is what makes Another Man's Wife worth watching. It forces you to think beyond the surface. It is easy to judge Maya when you are not in her position. It is easy to judge Shawn when you are not carrying his shame. But the movie places both of them in a situation where every option feels painful. And that is what gives the story its emotional weight. This is not the kind of movie where you watch and simply move on. It stays with you because it feels possible. It reminds you that love can be real and still not survive pressure. It reminds you that silence can destroy a home as much as betrayal. It reminds you that a marriage can be lost, not because two people stopped loving each other, but because they stopped facing problems together.